told Mike Fetters in the bullpen, hey, if they need me, I'm good.
Josh Rojas! It's gone! His first Major League homer ties the ball game. And how about that for a make good?
Welcome back to another episode of the Wins and Losses podcast. I'm your host, Adam Perez. Of course, I have the coldest co-host, as always, with me. Star in the building, of course. Make sure if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff as always. And as always, of course, we did bring in a new guest. I'm very proud that we were able to get this guest on today simply because this guy is a living legend in Arizona. He's a living legend at Millennium. Everyone knows about him. He is part of your home team, the Arizona Diamondbacks, Mr. Josh Rojas. How's it going, man?
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey.
That's cool.
No, thank you, man. I know, I respect the whole guidelines and everything like that. I appreciate you even, joining in with us on the Zoom meeting, man. Especially,
yeah, I definitely wish I could have come in, but it looks like a cool little setup. But yeah, we have all these quarantine policies now, so crazy times.
No, exactly, man. It's all good, man. I appreciate it. Especially, I know, don't you guys start up spring training tomorrow?
Yeah, no, we started last Monday, so first game is tomorrow.
First game is tomorrow. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Against the Rockies, right? Something like that.
Right.
Yeah. How do you feel about that so far? You prepared?
I'm excited. Yeah, it felt like a long off season, with all the stuff going on. Couldn't really do much. Just had to keep your nose down and grind, get ready for the season.
No, definitely, man. How speaking of that, how has COVID impacted like your training and stuff like that, man?
So last offseason we had that first initial shutdown when the NBA had their positive test. They kind of just shut us down. There's really everybody shut down, so there's nowhere really to train. It was just backyard workouts, online yoga, and just whatever you could get done. So
some hot yoga.
I mean now there's a lot more places open. The place where I usually train every offseason was open. They obviously had their protocols, temperature checks, contact tracing. So they kept us pretty safe there, so it was a good spot to be.
Oh no, that's good, man. As long as safety is number one, of course.
Yeah.
I really wanted to get first into kind of like the journey of your whole process of getting to where you're at today. Most people don't know, but we have somewhat of a background all the way back to the young gun days, man. And I really wanted to start all the way back there, man. At the end of the day, all of that is playing at Litchfield Park as well has led you to where you're at today, I'm assuming. Were you growing up like we're always playing infield or?
Yeah, so it started, obviously, you start playing the game and you become a fan of the game and you have your favorite players, your favorite teams, and then you obviously strive to be one of those guys. So obviously that's where the dream started. When you start playing when you're a young kid, you see the guys on TV having so much fun, and you hope to one day be able to do that as your job. So, yeah, the dream started back in Little League club ball days where I played with your older brother. Those are fun games. It's a different type of baseball. Back then it's fun. You're trying to win tournaments. You're playing with guys you grew up with. You're playing with guys in your neighborhood. So the bragging rights are really just whose hood is better than whose. So,
right.
it's just bragging rights at that point. It's fun, and then as the levels get higher, the stakes become a little bit higher. You're playing for different stuff. In high school you're trying to play for state championships. You get to college, now you're playing for scholarship money, trying to get college paid for, and then obviously if you get drafted, which I was lucky enough to do. Now you're trying to play, you're that much closer, and you're trying to play and get to your ultimate goal, which is make the big leagues. So there's levels, and the stakes become different depending on the level you're at.
No, exactly, definitely, man. Was the dream always to, kind of like play in the infield or outfield, or do you have a specific position that's your favorite? Because I know you started off, playing. Yeah. Weren't you catching back in the day?
I was. So I was doing a little bit of everything. I think. Yeah. So I grew up with my dad being the coach, and I can't thank him enough for. I know you have a lot of players that play for their dad, and they get to play their favorite position all the time. So, that it's always that coach's kid. privilege, you know, that
Yeah.
when you're playing with the coach's kid, you hate it because he gets to play whatever position he wants. But it was never like that for me. It was, you know, like you said, I was catching in Little League, and that kind of just started because we had some guys that threw hard, and there was only a few guys that could catch them. So I was willing to do that. I caught in club ball, and then we got some players that could catch. That was their primary position. So then I moved to the infield. We got some infielders that was their primary position. So I moved to the outfield. And then it was kind of just a move all over. And I think we had a lot of guys on that Young Guns team that moved all over. You know, I remember there were some tournaments where my dad would kind of draw names out of a hat to see who was playing where, because everybody could play every position and everybody can hit at any spot in the lineup. So it was kind of a draw them out of a hat. Let's see who we got today. And then when we get to those elimination games, then it was kind of, all right, who fits in what position the best. So I think my dad, without even knowing it, kind of prepared me to be able to move all over the field. And as I got each level, I feel most comfortable at second base, but I think I came up with that mentality of however I can get in the lineup and whatever helps the team. If somebody can only play second, then I'll be the guy to move to right or left or second or third. That's kind of how I came up. So I think that's now my favorite thing to do is guard and kind of look at the lineup and see, oh, I'm playing here today, or I'm playing here today. You know, that I kind of enjoy that now. So I do have a favorite position. Most comfortable position would be second base, but I do enjoy moving it around.
No, that's great, man. Exactly, because right now I think, you know, you're kind of moving around all over the place, you know, within the D-backs lineup and stuff like that, especially defensive positions. But I think I like how you said, you know, wherever coach puts you, that's where you're going. You know what I mean? Having that mindset of not being a little selfish and kind of just, you know, thinking what's best for the team is kind of actually what helps you grow as an individual too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I think having that flexibility just gives you more opportunity. That was the main thing that we tried to create, because I got drafted by Houston, and that first year, so I actually got drafted as a third baseman, even though I only played 1 year there. So when I got there, I kind of had to tell them, like, hey, this isn't my primary position. I play second base. So I was moving between second and third.
You told them that? Like, you just told them straight up? Like,
yeah, I was just like, hey, I mean, because so one of my best friends from the Astros organization, he was a third baseman primarily, and he was a better third baseman than me. So I kind of saw him playing, and I was like, how am I going to play when this guy's a better third baseman? He hits well. Like,
yeah.
I might as well just tell him, like, hey, I can play other positions too. I don't want to be stuck behind this guy. So, yeah, I told him, like, hey, I could take ground balls at second or wherever you need me. Like, I'm not just a third baseman. So they were okay with that. And then that was in 17. Following year in 18, they kind of saw that I could play multiple positions, so we worked on it. And it wasn't until we had a couple injuries in the outfield where our manager was like, hey, can you play outfield? I was like, yeah, I played there too. I play there too. So I went and played a couple games in outfield, and then when I came back for 19, that's when they kind of made it a focus. Because if you looked in the big leagues, there was only a few utility guys. There was Marwin, who was with the Astros at the time, Marwin Gonzalez. And then you have Kike Hernandez, who was with the Dodgers. And those were really the only two, like the two main guys that were playing multiple positions on a regular basis. So they were like, the way they put it was, you can either compete with all the second basemen in the league or all the third basemen in the league, whatever you want, or you can compete against only two guys who are playing the utility position. And when they put it like that, I was like, well, I mean, your opportunities expand when you can either compete against all the established big leaguers at one position, or you compete against the 2, 3, 4 guys that are playing all the positions.
Yeah. Oh, that's smart.
So I worked every day with them. I'd be playing second base in the game, but before the game, I'd be working in the outfield or third base, or, you know, they had a plan on every day we're going to get better at a different position. So I think it was in 19. I played every position except for pitcher, catcher, and center. So I was everywhere.
Dang. You never pitched at all? Like at all?
No. I think I pitched. The last time I pitched for real was like in Little League. You know, those guys.
Yeah.
Pitching's a whole nother ball game. You know, you see those guys now throwing 98 plus.
Yeah, dude, that's
nasty
insane.
Stuff.
Those aren't kids anymore.
Stay out of there. Yeah, I stay out of there.
Nah, I hear you, man. I feel like most people don't really know. Like, and correct me if I'm wrong. You know, you went to Millennium High School, but not really in a way. Were you homeschooled? You played for the school, but you did not go to the actual school. Is that correct?
What?
That was in 6th grade in middle school. Yeah, so it was my first year. Kind of had some discipline issues.
What were you doing?
I think it was like the first couple weeks. I got in, like, you know, playing football at recess, got in a fight. Got in a fight in the lunchroom. You know, just
Stupid
dumb
stuff.
little, just dumb little stuff. You know that you know kids do. And I remember they had a meeting with my parents, like the teachers, you know, and they were basically just saying, like, I think because he's a younger, because I was that in between age, you know, like I had a summer birthday, so I was either way younger than everybody, or if I waited a year, then
you're way older,
a little older than everybody. So it was in 6th grade. They suggested, like, we think because of his age and like him being younger, and I was actually smaller. I didn't hit a growth spurt till like sophomore, junior year of high school, so I was way smaller than everybody. I mean, I'm personally, I think it was competitiveness. You know, you don't want to get embarrassed. You know how it is when you're in middle school. Yeah,
of course. Yeah. You got an ego.
Yeah, every little thing is like, oh, I got to defend myself. I don't want people to think I'm lesser than anybody else.
Yeah.
So they basically just said, like, we suggest you holding them back. So my parents didn't think, like, they kind of, my mom's a teacher, or she was a teacher back then. So she was like, well, instead of just going to the school and then doing it again, I'll just homeschool you for a year, and then you can start 6th grade with the next group. So I did that in 6th grade, but it was in the middle of being homeschooled. She was like, you can still play for the school if you're homeschooled. And I was like, oh, what? Yeah, of course. I'm not going to take a year off. So I did that in 6th grade. So I played 6th grade. I don't know what they called that. I think that it was just like the 6th and 7th grade team, and then the 8th grade.
And then the 8th grade team. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, so I played 6th grade when I was actually in 6th grade. Then I played it again, and then in 7th grade, and then 8th grade I played in the 8th grade team. So
that was only middle school though. High school, you were in person.
Yeah, middle. Okay. I only did that for 1 year, and it was only that I actually went to school in 6th grade for the first. I was there for probably 3-4 months before this even happened. So I was only homeschooled for that second half.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Millennium, you were there all 4 years.
Yeah, Millennium, I was there all 4 years.
Who was the coach? It was in Bethel back then, right?
No, so freshman year I had.
Were you varsity all 4 years?
No, so I was on the freshman team my freshman year. I had God, he's gonna get so mad at me. Rojek. I had.
Oh, you had Rojek?
Rojek was
my freshman coach.
Wow.
He's getting championships on the girls' basketball team now.
I know.
Multiple.
He just changed sports over, and he's the guru.
He's the guru now. He knows everything.
Yeah.
God, he's cold though. I hope.
Yeah, he was cool, man. I had him as a teacher, obviously my senior year too, so he was cool. But but I did get called up. So there was a couple players on our varsity team. I remember that year when I was a freshman, got in trouble for something, I don't know, so they got suspended. So I did go up for 3 games, I think, on varsity, and then I was up for the playoffs. They called me up, and I didn't really play. It was just kind of more of an experience thing, like just
for the
to
next
see
year.
the environment. Yeah. And then sophomore, junior, senior year, I was on varsity.
Oh.
Yeah. Nice. Were you the same year as like Elston and Jordan and all them?
Jordan. I was the same year as Jordan Martin. Elston, I think, was a year
younger, actually.
Yeah, a year younger than us.
Okay.
Dang. Okay, nice. And in high school, you were playing second base then, I'm assuming?
Yeah, so actually, my freshman year when I called up to varsity, I played outfield. because it was the outfielders
Yeah.
that in trouble.
Oh.
And then sophomore, junior, senior, all were at second base.
Nice, man. That's pretty cool, man. I didn't know you actually went to Millennium. I thought you were homeschooled and actually just, played at Millennium.
No, yeah, I was at Millennium for all 4 years.
Oh, wow. That's pretty
Great
cool,
time.
man.
Secret staircase. Secret staircase.
Yeah, over by the science buildings.
That's funny. Hey, let's talk about senior year though, man, because I feel like that's a big stage in high school. Of course, that's when
scholarships
started to come at you a little bit. You kind of started to think about, dang, am I going to play baseball or am I going to go the school route and stuff like that? So, what was going through your mind senior year?
Were you heavily recruited your senior year?
So that's the thing. So my grades is what actually kept me from getting a lot of schools, So
Dang.
I was playing in a lot of like showcases and stuff. I actually missed out on some showcases as well as because I was playing football at Millennium as well. And that's like football fall is like where you're playing in all those showcases for baseball.
Yeah.
So I still remember there was a couple showcases where I showed up on Saturday, Sunday, so sore and beat up from football games on Friday. Like, didn't even want to be out there. I was hurting. So I think it affected my recruiting a little bit, but I do know, like, I was getting some letters, and you fill out these letters. They ask everything, your class rank, your GPA. And there was a couple that I would send out my GPA and never hear back from them again. So if there was one thing I could go back and change, it was like I should have taken the grades more seriously. Because, everybody tells you, like, oh, you if you play sports, you still need to get the good grades to get into schools, and you're like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's so true. That's so true.
I'm just having fun, I'm passing my classes. That's all I need to do. But yeah, so I remember specifically, I got a letter. It was like one of my favorite ones. I got a letter. The recruiter actually handed it to me in person. It was from Stanford.
Oh.
And I kind of knew right when I got it. I was like, as soon as he gets the GPA, I'm not getting it.
It's over.
Yeah. I gave him my GPA, and that was the last I heard from him. So the main schools was I was talking to ASU and U of A, but even talking to them, they tell you, like, you look at their situation in that year, 2013, they were stacked. Both those teams were stacked. So they were like, yeah, I talked to U of A more than ASU, and they were like, yeah, we got the sophomore second baseman, our third baseman's a freshman All-American.
Oh, they're there for a while.
Yeah, they're going to be there for a while, so you might have to sit 1-2 years before you crack the lineup. And that's when I was like, all right, well, I think junior college is the best option, so that's what I ended up going with. And
PV, right?
Yeah, I went to Paradise Valley. So the thing about that was, in high school, you have like these national signing days, And at Millennium, we have like an award ceremony every year where all the athletes get together and family and stuff, and you go up to the front and they announce what school you're going to, and you sign a fake piece of paper, like that's where you're going. And like everybody sees that, and you're like, I want to go D1. Everybody's goal is, I want to go D1. I want to go D1. And looking back on it, I was so thankful that I didn't, because I had friends that I played with in club ball that went to different high schools, and they went D1, sat out their first year, 2 years, and even after that were, playing here and there. And, that hurts, taking a full year off, that affects how you play. And
mentally,
and then
too.
when you're playing here and there, that's where I was going. Like, mentally, every time you play, you're like, I gotta play good today, or else I don't get to play tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I went to junior college, and I remember the recruiter at U of A even suggested, like, junior college is a good route. And so that's when I started shopping junior colleges and all around Arizona, like, because a lot of people don't know this, but junior college in Arizona is one of the top junior college conferences in all the country. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I know for football, it's not this. It's
they're almost done with it.
Yeah. People go to California or Texas or Florida. But for baseball, one of the top is, I think the top 2 states is here and Florida. And I know California has a good junior college, but they play, since it's so big, they have their own World Series.
How did you land on PV? out of all of them?
So my senior year, one of the boys I was playing with, because I had never like really done lessons or anything. You know, I just always worked with my dad. And I remember my senior year, one of my boys was hitting with a hitting coach from out in the East Valley, and he's like, "Hey, like, he's on the low. Because you have to charge, right? If you're a coach for a junior college, you can't work with guys for free because then it's kind of illegal recruiting. So you have to pay." And he's like, "Hey, he's charge you $1 a session." Like, all right, yeah, I'll go check it out. You know?
Say less.
Yeah, I'll see what it's like. And he completely, like, I felt like a new hitter ever since I started hitting with him. Like his philosophy, his mentality, like how to hit. It was everything my dad had been teaching me, except more mechanics. You know,
it was just all clicking.
Yeah, it was clicking, and he coached at PV, and that wasn't the only thing. So I went on a visit to PV, and I went on a visit to 5 or 6 junior colleges, and I just remember I went to watch practices, and everything I was seeing, I was like, "Oh, we already do that. We do that." You know, I was looking to go to a place where I can get better, advance my game, and I went to PV and I watched their practices, and their head coach, who I still work out there every off season, and I still work with him on infield stuff. Their head coach, Victor Solis, he was also the infield coach, and I saw the infield stuff they're doing, and I'm like, this is new. Like, this is progressive. I can get better doing all this. It's all new stuff. And so those two things, I was like, all right, this is the spot for me. And it also helped because I was playing for I guess you call it a scout team, a showcase team, that off season after high school, and we were winning every tournament. That team is, to this day, the club ball team is called the A's, the Athletics. They're orange and black, and that was, I think, their second team that they had made, and I think to this day it was one of the best teams that they had ever put together. Like, we were winning every tournament. And it was fun, and I think 6 of us were all committing to Paradise Valley.
Oh, wow.
So,
and how many years were you at PV?
I was
Just
there for
one?
2 years.
Oh, 2?
I was there for 2 years.
And then from there you went to UH?
Yeah, I went to UH from there. So I think it was like one guy committed, and they're like, "Hey, where are you going?" I'm like, "Oh, I haven't committed yet." "Oh, we're going to PV." 2 guys committed, 3 guys committed. I'm like, "Oh, we're going to be good."
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'm committed too. So not only were we going to learn a lot, we were going to be good. And junior college in Arizona, you have a lot of guys that went to high school in Arizona. So it's kind of one of those things.
Everyone knows each other.
Like, yeah, everyone knows each
Chemistry.
other. Nobody wants to go to that junior college that sucks, you know?
Yeah, of course not.
I still have boys that I'm friends with today that, you know, we talk about our junior college days, and it's like, "Oh, yeah, we waxed you guys," you know? It's like bragging rights.
Yeah, of course.
We're all from Arizona who went to the best junior college. So I think that first year we had 8 freshmen starting, and we had an okay year. We came back for our sophomore year, and we went 30-10. So yeah, we were really good. Had a lot of fun. Learned so much.
I think that's the beauty of going to a junior college and not straight to D1, man. Like, think about everything you just talked about right now, all those opportunities that came to you, the hitting coach, the relationships that you have with people now, like those reps that you were able to get in that you probably wouldn't have gotten at ASU or U of A. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
You go live different.
It's everything that comes with that junior college environment. Like, it's so
It's
like
a
you
grind.
go to a university and all your freshman classes are halls, you know, these big, like 60 people, 70 people. You never know your professor. Like, they don't know who you are.
They don't know who you are. Yeah, they don't care either.
And you go to junior college, and it's like high school kind of, you know. You got these 20,
Small classes.
25 classes. You have meetings with your professors. Like, in high school, I had a 2.9 GPA. In junior college, I ended up with a 3.7.
Oh,
So that's a big jump.
You know, it's like just the whole environment. You know, you come in, you're not competing against 4 years of guys. You're competing against 2 years of guys.
Yeah.
So there's a turnover every year. So it's a great opportunity. I think, every time I get a chance to talk to somebody about like choosing Division I or every time you get a chance to Division I or junior college, it's like, don't go D1 just because it's D1. Like go.
It depends on the
best.
person, would you say, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It depends on the opportunities available. Like if you have the chance to go to D1 and you're gonna play and you're gonna start, then do it. If you're gonna go to D1 and sit a year and then you got to compete for playing time every year, that's tough. And that was a big factor in even when I went to UH. When I went to Hawaii at a junior college, I was talking to ASU again, and it was the same thing, competing for a spot. I go to University of Hawaii, and they're like, oh, that guy's graduating, that's the guy you'll be competing against. And I was like, okay.
You're like, oh, all right. He was like, I can do that, yeah.
Yeah, this is, and the thing
that's
about
smart,
Hawaii,
though, bro. That's smart.
Yeah,
like,
that's what you got to do. It's like, where am I going to have the best opportunity to showcase myself? Because you can be the best player in the world. If you can't showcase it, you're never on the field.
No one's going to see it. Yeah.
Nobody sees it. And I had so many friends who were just as good, but they never got to showcase it. Or when they did get to showcase it, it was like, you
limited.
better do it today or you don't do it tomorrow.
Yeah,
It's hard to play like that.
No, of course, yeah.
So basically, between ASU and UH, when you did finish at Paradise Valley?
Yeah, so those were the final two spots. I also was going to – so the thing with ASU is they wanted me, but they had to lose a guy in the draft to free up scholarship money.
Okay.
So if he got drafted, I was in. If he didn't get drafted, then they weren't going to have any money for me, and he would obviously be in the spot again, and I'd have to compete for another spot. So I did have the opportunity because so the way it works is you can only verbally commit to one Division I at a time, because once you do, no other D1s can. It's like they call you. Yeah, they call you and you say like, have you verbally committed anywhere? They technically can't talk to you anymore if you say you have. So I was also gonna sign with a NAIA and then wait for that draft. And then I went on the visit to Hawaii around the same time I was talking to ASU, and I was like, this place is sick. Because the thing about Hawaii is they don't have professional sports. So college is their professional sport.
Is the sport. Yeah.
I went to college out there, too.
Oh, really? Where'd you go?
I went to Chaminade.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I
went to so my Jordan Martin ended up playing at HPU basketball.
Yeah, that was our rival.
Yeah, so I went to a couple of games that they played Chaminade. They were nice. That's a nice school.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, though.
It was a sick environment. One of my best friends to this day was from Hawaii, so that was a good connect.
Wouldn't you say it's a totally different like culture out there?
Oh yeah, it's
way different.
Way different culture. It's Hawaii time, as they say. You know, it's a whole different culture, and I think a lot of people say, you know, the rumors are like they don't like the guys from the mainland, but I think if you just adapt to the culture and you kind of just don't say like, oh, I'm better than this culture, then you fit in nice.
You have a moped out there?
I did have a moped.
Everyone got a moped out there.
And of course it got stolen.
Where'd you park it at? Chinatown?
I parked it right by my apartment outside for like,
oh my gosh.
I left it for like an hour without locking it up. I was like, I'll be right back.
Did you ever fall off?
I didn't, but we did have some guys miss games with injuries falling off the mopeds.
Fell off mine bad. I have a huge scar on my leg to this day.
Really?
I had to miss like a month of practice and games. Yeah.
Dang. Yeah,
I feel like
those things were dangerous, but they were convenient.
They're fun.
Yeah.
How was the whole baseball experience in Hawaii? Was it like, you know, did you execute as planned, or you felt like you know?
Yeah, no, it was good. I had a great 2 years. It was, I mean, obviously the environment's sick. I met some.
You were playing third base, right?
Yeah. Well, so my freshman year I played second base.
Okay.
My first year. So my junior year, I played second base, and then my senior year when I came back, our third baseman, they were like, he was kind of shaky the year before at third base, so they were like, I mean, let's try him at second and move me over to third, see how that fits, and it just worked out better. He was a better second baseman than he was third, and I was playing a good third base at the time, and that's just the way it worked out. So my whole senior year I played third base.
Oh wow, man, that's crazy. Any teammates that you still talk to that?
UH?
Yeah,
Yeah, so my boy Kakai Rios, that's like one of my best friends to this day. He's I actually just FaceTimed him again today, but he actually ended up getting drafted a year later by the Brewers. So he's in the Brewers organization right now.
That's
so,
super cool.
I mean, he's good. I talk to him all the time just because he's in the same spot I was just a year or two ago. So, you know, it's a grind down there in the minor leagues.
I was just about to get into that, man. Let's talk about that. So, will you get drafted by the Astros?
26th round, correct?
Yeah, 26th round, late.
What was going through your head, man?
Yeah, walk us through draft day.
Yeah, I want to hear about that.
You know what's crazy? So baseball, you know, you have the big NFL, NBA draft. So baseball, there's so many rounds.
Mm-hmm.
So they're after, I think the first day is like one round, and then the next day is like 2 through 5, and those are the big rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's funny because my junior year, that's when you're draft eligible in junior college every year.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're at a D1, everyone's draft eligible junior year. So that's like the big year to get drafted because it's like negotiability when it comes to your signing bonus. Obviously, your junior year, if a team drafts you, if they don't give you the right money, you can go back for your senior year.
Yeah.
So they have to, that's their incentive to pay you more. And so everybody wants to get drafted their junior year, and I put that pressure on myself, like this has to be my year. You know, I had a great 2 years in junior college. I had a really good summer ball outing. Like I gotta showcase it here my junior year, and I think that pressure, I didn't have the year I wanted to have, just because it was like I was saying with the guys that are competing for playing time. I was doing that to myself, even though I wasn't even necessarily competing for playing time. It was like every day I showed up, you know, you have the 15, 20 scouts behind the plate. You're like, all right, I gotta do it today.
Gotta show out.
Here. Yeah. And it just didn't work out. Didn't have a good year. Didn't get drafted. And I came back for my senior year, and I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to worry about the draft. I'm going to play. I'm going to have fun.
Let it come to you.
Yeah, I'm going to do everything. I mean, even my senior year, I was playing intramural football. You know, like I was just doing everything that a normal college kid would do. I was just having fun. I actually won the intramural football championship at Hawaii. And I remember I wore the championship shirt to practice one day, and our coach was pissed
funny.
that I played.
Oh, really? I could only imagine.
Were you playing
tell him.
with some like big dudes in that league or what?
Yeah, so actually the football team had a team of their red shirts as a team. And we played them in the semis, and we beat them.
Oh.
It was crazy. It was a crazy game.
That is funny, dude.
I mean, it's funny because that league was one of my highlights of college. But I went into that year like that was the mentality I had. I was like, you know what? Everybody gets a red shirt. You know, everybody gets an injury red shirt. I wouldn't mind spending one more year in college. I'm
in Hawaii especially.
Yeah. So I was like, you know, you have guys that get injury red shirts. I was like, I wouldn't mind if I had to spend one more year here. So I was just having fun, playing free, playing intramural sports, and I ended up having a great senior year, and even going into the draft, I wasn't hearing from anybody still, and I remember it was a week before the draft, I think 8 days before the draft, a rep from the Astros called me, and he was like, hey, there's a workout in Huntington Beach with like 30 guys if you want to come out, and I was like, yeah,
what are you gonna say? Yeah.
And I remember I didn't have any of my. When I left Hawaii, because you know bags are expensive. You get 2 bags to come home, so there was a bunch of stuff I left. So they called me, and I was like, dang, I had to go to. That was when Sports Authority was still open. Went to Sports Authority. Sports Authority, had to get some cleats, had to get some batting gloves. You know, I had to get some more stuff to go to this workout.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had a good showing. You know, they did a bunch of different tests. They did some like. Ask you questions, like some mental tests. They did some vision tests. It was crazy.
Really?
It was pretty high tech stuff. Yeah.
Damn.
Like put you in this dark room, test your vision, put some like sensors on your bat for when you hit, and then they're like, "All right, we'll be in touch."
Sports science shit.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Right, we'll be in touch, and I was like, "All right, cool." Never heard from them again.
No.
And then. I'll never forget this. It was the day I got drafted. Because I had stopped watching the draft. You know, I saw who went in the first couple of rounds, and I was like,
damn. So you didn't even know like this whole. You kind of just gave up.
Yeah, I was laying in bed. I actually had a job interview set up for
wow.
I had just I had long hair from Hawaii. I had just set up a job interview because my ultimate goal is to coach, still is to coach when I'm done playing. Because I love coaching. I think I have learned a lot, so I want to pass that on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so,
damn.
yeah, I remember I had a job interview to be like an academic advisor at ASU, because if you worked there, they would pay for your master's, and in order you have to have your master's to be a head coach for Division I. So I was like, I was already set up. I had just cut my hair, getting ready for I had done the.
Did you have the mullet?
No, I didn't have a mullet. I just had long hair everywhere. It was a mess. So, yeah, I had just cut my hair. I had done the on-phone interview, and I cut my hair because I had the in-person interview coming up. And I remember I was just laying in bed, and my mom calls me. She's like, "Congratulations." And I was like, "What?"
No way.
Yeah, she was like, "I just saw your name come across the draft ticker." And I'm like, "Are you sure? Like, I haven't heard anything." And she's like, "Hold on, let me check." Went back
Mom.
through. She's like, "Yeah, it says you got drafted." And I'm like, "What?" And then, like, right when I'm on the call with her, I get a call from a number I don't have. And I'm like, "Hold on, I'm getting a call from a number I don't have."
Yeah.
So I answered it, and it was them. They're like, "Hey, we just took you in the 26th round. We just wanted to know if you were going to accept." Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
Wow.
No
Didn't ask
hesitation.
for a signing bonus.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, it's your senior year. It's not like you can negotiate. It's like, all
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
what are you going to do if you don't take it, you know?
Yeah. Go to the job interview.
Yeah,
Get
yeah. Go to work a job I didn't want to work in the first place. So, so I was like, yeah, I'm in. They're like, all right, well, we'll call you in a couple hours with all your travel information. I was like, all right, cool.
Dang.
And then a couple hours later, they called me. They're like, all right, and next week you'll be flying out to New York. You'll do your physicals and everything, and you'll be with the team was the Tri-City Valley Cats in Tri-Cities, New York. And so I was like, all right, I guess I'll be on the flight.
Dang.
So you didn't go to that? You didn't go to the interview?
Nope. I called him. I said, hey, I won't be accepting this position.
I got drafted.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was crazy.
Dang, that's so crazy, dude. You were this close to, like, you said you were laying in bed. You weren't even, expecting anything from the draft. And, like, I could only imagine you had an adrenaline rush or something. Not like you weren't excited.
Crazy.
I didn't even know what to think. Like, when my mom called me and told me that, at first I was thinking, like, you have to be wrong. I haven't heard anything. Because,
or she joking
I've had other friends get drafted, and, they're in talks with teams the whole time, Will you take this amount of money in this round? Will you take this in this round? But I think being a senior sign, they can just take you whenever, because it's like, what else are you going to do?
Yeah, well, yeah.
So you only had that one workout in San Diego before, and that was it?
That was it. That was the only time I talked to a team. They were the only ones. So, and what's funny is I ended up staying in touch with that guy that invited me to that workout. Mm-hmm. And he said that the one reason he called me to invite me was because he came to a game at Hawaii, and there was a play where we were down by like 6 runs in the 7th or 8th inning, and one of our players, I think it was our first baseman, who I'm actually still friends with, but and I think this is the reason why this happened, because I was so close to them, but there was like a ball down the line that he kind of just like, let go. And I was like, we got in an argument. I was like, what? Like, you could got that ball.
Yeah, you could have got it.
And we got in an argument about like, like I'm just not trying to lose by more runs.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like we're gonna still play hard.
And
he
that
said
stuck
he saw
with him.
that. Yeah, he saw that, and he was like, this guy wants to win, so let's invite him out.
Wow, dude. Look at that. It's
It's
like
crazy.
that,
It's
dude.
crazy
That is
how it
crazy.
works.
Yeah.
And in between that whole time, between that San Diego workout and the draft, you were staying ready, I'm assuming, correct? Like,
I
even
wasn't.
in the... Oh, you weren't?
I wasn't doing
God.
anything. I wasn't doing anything because I just assumed I was done playing. I was like getting ready for the next steps because I hadn't heard anything. So I was.
I thought you were gonna say, yeah, I was in the gym every day.
Oh yeah, so I was. I just assumed like senior year.
Nothing. You're not
Not
hearing
getting
anything.
drafted.
Yeah.
And I mean, you hear that from everybody, like if you put so much work or you put so much thought into one thing happening and it doesn't happen and you're not prepared for the next step, you get stuck, and you get
That's
caught.
true.
I mean, obviously it's tough when it's your dream, and I got lucky enough to get drafted, but it's hard. There's people I know that you don't get drafted, and then you go 2-3 more years still trying to get there, and you still don't make it, and then it's like, all right,
now what?
3 years down the drain, I didn't progress in life, and I think I was just so set on that not happening that I was like, okay, I'm not going to get drafted. It's not looking like I'm going to get drafted.
What's
next?
So
let's prepare for those next steps so that in 2 or 3 years, I've actually gone somewhere and I'm not stuck saying like, dang, I
stuck
just
in the old
2 or
days.
3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, which is the smartest thing you could do at that point.
It's tough because you do hear about guys that do go through those 2 or 3 years of grind and they do
make it.
Make it. So it's such a hard
a crossroads.
You're stuck at you're stuck at crossroads. Like, do I chase this dream with the chance of making it, or do I just go on to the next step?
Yeah.
And that's where I was at. And then when I got the opportunity, I was like, all right,
you crushed it.
I gotta go for this now. And that's when I got drafted. My eyes got open to a whole nother, because I always played the game for fun. Even in college, I did all the work on the field. I didn't take the weight room serious. I just played the game for fun. I played the game hard. I played the game to win. And when I got drafted, and you're amongst other guys with the same goal, they kind of instill on you like, this is what it takes. Like you see when you're in spring training, even though you're in the minor leagues, the weight room in Houston, you share it with the big leaguers, and you see those guys in there, and you're like, dang, like you just see what they're doing on TV. They're working hard.
They're working.
Yeah, and that's where my mentality went. Like, okay, if I want to be there, I got to take everything I was doing to the next level.
Yeah,
and that happens every year. Every year, I got to take it one level again.
Next step.
Yeah, in 17, after that year, I took my workout routine in the off season to the next level, and then in 18, I took my workout and my diet to the next level. I added diet. I was eating cleaner. And then in 19 and this past year, it was like sleep. Little things you don't think about.
But they make the difference.
They make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Dang. That's pretty crazy. I like how you brought up the point of just being in the same weight room, of big leaguers and stuff like that. Like, just being in that environment, really.
It kind of like rubs off on you. Like, you see it, like, I gotta do more.
Yeah, like
that's legit.
Isn't enough.
No, that's super dope. I feel like, Star and I always talk about surrounding yourself by the right people. It's kind of like that one saying, if you hang out with 4 people, you'll be the 5th rich one, or whatever it is, or 4 rich people, you'll be the 5th one. You know what I mean? And it's just coming all from the mentality perspective, and that it's safe to say that, that has rubbed off on you a little bit. Being surrounded by those players, like you're talking like Altuve, Correa, all them guys in there, right? And those dudes are big names.
And the sick thing about those guys were, like you got big teams like, the Dodgers have some guys, but you got guys, teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox, and they trade for big names. Those guys with Houston came up through the organization, and so when those guys, those coaches, and that staff in the minor leagues is telling you something, you're like, everything they related, like, look what happened to the guys that did everything right. Look where they are. MVPs. You got Bregman, who just signed a 10-year deal. You got Correa, who's about to make a lot of money. Springer, you got all these guys that are homegrown guys, and you see, like, look what happens when you do everything right, and you're like, yeah, I'm in.
It's like, look what happens. You become cheaters. No, just kidding. That was a big thing, dude. I've seen that all over.
What's crazy is that upset a lot of people in our own organization, because even you got guys in the minor leagues that you're like, dang, if they weren't cheating, maybe I make it. you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the thing with the Astros is like, I wasn't too upset because, I mean, obviously they did cheat, but I think
What were they doing? I didn't really understand.
so they were using cameras to see signs, and they were relaying that live feed into the dugout so that they could they're basically seeing what pitch was coming live.
Oh.
Yeah,
exactly. Which is like, bro, you're hitting a dinger if you know what pitch is coming.
Right. So it was a pretty big. It was pretty messed up what they did, but it was. You could kind of. I don't want to say you could see it coming, but the Astros were so technologically advanced that, like, I mean, even for my career development, I would not be where I am today if I was drafted by another team, because
most definitely
the stuff that they taught me and the stuff that we were working on, like those video cameras that they were using for the live feed for the signs, we had those in the minor leagues, but they were actually used for what, like, that we were using them for a purpose, which is what they were using them for before they realized, like, hey, we can use those signs.
We can use those for something else.
But so in the minor leagues with the Astros, they would have a camera, left center, right center. They would have a camera in our dugout, the away dugout, and then a camera behind the plate. And after every series, they'd have meetings by positions on like everything you did right and everything you did wrong. So like, let's say there's 200 pitches thrown in a game. It could be the 170th pitch. They're like, hey, you weren't ready right here. What if this ball was hit to you? Like,
wow.
Every pitch you got to be ready. Or a double to right center and you went to the wrong spot for the relay, or the left fielder wasn't backing up third. Like, hey, why weren't you backing up third here? Why weren't you doing this right? Like every single
like nitpicking
everything. So then it became like you started to feel like, oh, I'm being watched all the time, no matter what.
Yeah.
I gotta lock in, because baseball. If you're not a true fan of baseball, it's hard to watch, because
of course
it's not like it's not like football or basketball where there's plays going on every 3 seconds.
Constantly.
You could go 6 innings with no hits, no runners.
But that's a good game.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're not a
I
fan,
like that.
If you're not a fan of baseball, you're just waiting for the homers and the doubles, then that's a boring game for you.
Yeah.
But that's the sport. So you got to be ready. Like, you could go 150 pitches with no plays, and then all of a sudden there's a tying runner on third, and it's the 180th pitch of the game, and you got to cover 9 feet to make a backhand and get the out so they don't score. That's the type of game we play. You can go 2 games without making a play, and then all of a sudden your play matters. So those are the things that they instilled in us, and like, you got to have 4 hours, which is a long time. I don't think there's another sport that goes 4 hours long.
Yeah,
you got to have 4 hours
Basketball,
of focus.
Not including extra innings.
Oh.
Yeah, like you got to have.
Oh, you're talking about
hours.
the game. Oh.
I thought you were talking
the game.
You're
game,
talking
like
about
a
the
baseball.
game.
Yeah, baseball games are 3.5, 4 hours, depending on how, like, what goes on. So
exactly.
you could have 4 hours. Like, you could not do anything physically, but after the game, you go home and you're like,
you're done, so.
Yeah, like, just mentally.
You got another game tomorrow.
Yeah, you got to do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, that's super cool, man. So shout out to the Astros organization, man. I feel like, it's safe to say that they really they were good to you, taught you a lot. And that's super dope, man. And I feel like a lot of people don't know this, man. There's different stages. In baseball, you got what? Single A, double A, triple A. And then
so I went to short season first, which is below low A. And then I went to low A. This was both in 17.
And these are all considered like the minor leagues, right?
Yeah, so these are minor leagues where you're making nothing. I think
nothing at all.
I mean, you're getting paid, but by the end of the
same.
And here's the thing: a season is 6 months long, right? So it's not the whole year, and you only get paid in baseball. You only get paid while you're playing. So the off season is,
regular
if you're in
job.
the big leagues, obviously, you made enough to last the whole year.
Exactly.
But if you're in the minor leagues, like I think in low A, I made a total in 6 months. I made a total of like 3,100.
Wow.
And
So what were you doing those off months?
So in the off season, I would work the first month and a half,
BSU.
just to pay for the workouts that I was going to do for the rest of the off season.
Okay.
And then you get back to the season and you're like, dang, I've been broke for so long, can't wait to play. But and that's another thing that like hurts guys is like, you know, I had my boy Jordan Martin, who got a job right out of college. My boy Hunter Jones, who went to the Navy right out of college. My boy Alex, who got a job right out of college. So, you know, everybody gets out of college and they're making money. And I'm over here, I got nothing.
Wait, which Alex are you talking about? Are you talking about Alex McIntosh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he got a good job right out of college. He's a computer guy, so he everybody's making money right out of college, and I'm broke but pursuing a dream. You know, and so
it paid off though.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing, it's tough. It's like
during that time you're just like,
you look at the percentages, not everybody makes it, you know? So you're like, even me, I was in low A, and you're contemplating like, dang, am I going to spend 3-4 years doing this? And then in 3-4 years I'm stuck and I got to find a job and I got no money saved up. So it's tough in the minor leagues because you're like, I'm working for that goal, but at one point do I kind of start to think like, dang, I might not make it. I'm going to be broke forever. You know, I got to I got to get a job, and that happens to a lot of guys. And I think when you brought up the point about surrounding yourself with guys with the same mentality, same goals. I had a really good group of friends in the minor leagues with the Astros who actually, both of them, Chaz and Toro, they both ended up making the big leagues with the Astros as well. So it's that mentality thing. Like you can be in the minor leagues and you can have that thought every day of like, man, this sucks. Man, this food sucks. Man, these 12-hour bus rides suck. There's so much you can complain about. You know, like when I was in Corpus Christi in Double A, we were so spread out. It was like you play 3 games, then you're on an 8-hour bus ride overnight to the next place, and then you play that day. I remember on the 4th of July, that year it was in 18. We had a game on July 3rd. We had a 12-hour bus ride that night. We got back home to Corpus at I think 11 a.m. And we had a game that night at 6.
Jesus.
So we were like, those are the types of things like
that's a bus ride.
Yeah, you can find so much to complain about, or you could show up and be like, I'm playing baseball today. Let's get better. Let's try to get out of here. You know, let's do better to get out of here.
Yeah.
So we played with guys that were just complaining all the time, and they're still there.
Yeah.
And then you got the guys that
they didn't progress.
Yeah, you got the guys that take in their environment and say, okay, this is where we're at, and we're gonna do what we can to get to that next level, and we did it. We all progressed and moved up levels and got to where we wanted to be.
Oh, that's dope, man.
Then you
Taking
get to
stuff.
the big leagues and sitting in recliner planes.
Dude, I was about to get into that, man.
Walk us through getting traded to the Diamondbacks. And what was that
that
like?
was another crazy.
Because that's your hometown.
Yeah.
And I believe if I'm not mistaken, you're like the second person to be born in Arizona and play for their home team or something like that.
I think
right?
so. We currently have Cole Calhoun, who was also born in Arizona. He went to Buckeye. So, we talk a lot about that. But yeah, the trade was crazy because I was never really considered a top prospect. You know, I was playing well, but I was at the older end. So, you know, you got these like 21, 22-year-old, 23-year-old guys who they're top prospects. So I was never really on that top prospect list. So when it comes time to the trade deadline, I was in AAA at the time. And we had some dudes, like we were really good. And so we kind of all figured like the Astros need pitching to make this playoff push. So somebody from this locker room is going to go because we have, obviously if you're trading for a big name pitcher, they're going to want some top prospects for it.
Yeah.
So
were you kind of surprised when you were included in that trade package?
So surprised. So we were all actually sitting in the locker room. We were watching ESPN, and I remember I had early work at 3 o'clock. So early work is basically you go out to the field, you take ground balls, you do all your early stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had early work at 3, and the trade deadline ended at 3. So we asked our manager, like, hey, can you push this back like 20 minutes? We want to see the end of this trade deadline, see if anything happens. Because nothing had happened yet. So he's like, yeah, that's fine. So we sat there, we watched it, trade deadline hit. We're like, dang, nobody got traded. That's crazy.
All right, let's go do this early work.
Let's go.
Yeah. So we go out to the field, and the way our field's set up is like our field is down below, and then our locker room is up higher in the stands. So like you can echo down. I mean, obviously when there's nobody here, you can yell from the locker room and it echoes across the whole stadium.
And they were just like, Rojas, you're out of here.
Oh, so first it was Fisher.
Fisher, you're out here.
Yeah, it was like they yelled down. They're like, Fisher just got traded to the Blue Jays.
Damn.
And there was like 4 or 5 of us down there taking ground balls, and we're like, dang, Fisher's gone.
Damn.
And then
couldn't be me.
And then, like 10 minutes later, our trainer came down and was talking to our manager, who was hitting us ground balls. And he gave our manager the phone, obviously, because he didn't have his phone. He was hitting us ground balls. So he's on the phone, and he's like this, and then he looks up and he looks at me, and he's like, points to me. And I was like, what? Like, I did not think I was getting traded. So I was like, damn, what does that mean? So he gets off the phone, or he hands me the phone, and it's our like GM, and he's like, hey, we just traded you to the Diamondbacks. Oh. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, we'll be, same thing as when I got drafted. Yeah, we'll be calling you in an hour with your travel information. Like,
wow.
Dang, it's like that.
Were you happy though when you heard that? Like, especially the Diamondbacks.
It was so mixed. It was so mixed because
you have good relationships down there too.
Yeah, you're so comfortable. You know all the coaching staff. You know how the organization's run. You've been learning a lot, but then it's your hometown team. Yeah. So it's like it's so mixed. I think at that point I was just sad that because I mean in AAA it was all the boys that I started with in Low A. We'd all progressed pretty much together. One of us would go up before the other, but we all eventually ended up in AAA at the same time. So, and even like my apartment, I was with 3 dudes I started in Low A with. So it was so mixed. And like, I got off the phone and I looked at Story and I was like, now what? And he's like, I don't know, bro. He's like, you want to take some more ground balls? I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, let's just. So I actually took a couple more ground balls, and our trainer's like, hey, he can't do that because if he's not ours. He's gone. Yeah. So he's like, all right. Went back to my locker, packed everything up. I was like, dang, I got some laundry to do. I haven't done laundry in a couple weeks.
Couple weeks?
Yeah. I'm like, dang, I got so much to do. So I actually didn't even stay for the game. I had to go home and start doing laundry and getting.
You called your mom though, and you're like,
yeah,
hey,
right after I called them right when I got back to the locker room. I was like, hey, I just got traded. I mean, I think they saw it before I did because it broke on the TV. So I called them. I talked to all my family. My phone was blowing up, and it was like business after that. It was like, all right, next morning, 8 a.m. I was gone.
Damn.
So I had to get everything together. 8 a.m. Flew to AAA for the Diamondbacks, which is in Reno. Flew to Reno. Did all my physical. Couldn't play that first game because your physical has to get all approved and stuff. And then the next day, new team.
Yeah.
And I remember the first day. So our Reno uniforms, obviously they're the Reno, and they got the Diamondbacks patch on the shoulder. I remember I was sitting in the dugout and I looked at it and I was like, dang, that's pretty cool. I used to wear these hats and stuff.
Yeah.
Damn,
that's a cool feeling, man.
Like a surreal feeling.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get the debut in Colorado.
Yeah, 12 days later. It was
12 days later.
Yeah, I was there.
How did that go about? They just called you up straight up? Just like.
Yeah, so the funny thing about the call up was I think all these scenarios were like crazy scenarios, but they're cool to talk about, because they weren't just normal. But so we were in Oklahoma City, and we're playing the Dodgers affiliate, and I went 0 for 4. I think I went 0 for 5, something crazy. Didn't feel good. So I show up to the field the next day, and I was in the line because they send the lineup out the night before, so you know if you're playing.
Okay, cool.
So they sent out the lineup. I was in the lineup, so I show up to the field, and I walk in. Our manager calls me in. He's like, "Hey, so our front office wants to give you the day off today. You've played quite a few games in a row, so we're gonna sit you today." Mm-hmm. And I walked out of there thinking like, it's because I went 0 for 5. Like,
0 for 5 for damn sure. It's like
they think I'm dead tired.
Easy.
Yeah, they're like he's probably dead tired.
That's the nice way of telling me.
Yeah, let's give him a break. So I was like, all right, cool. So I was like, dang, if I'm getting the day off today, I'm not doing anything. So I didn't take BP, didn't take ground balls. I just really took the day off. Still got dressed for the game and everything. So I went out to the locker room. It was like right when the anthem was about to start, I walked out to the locker room, and our manager pulled me aside. He's like, hey, you actually can't be in the dugout today. And I was like, what? I didn't play that bad.
Right?
And then he's like, yeah, you're actually getting called up to the big leagues. And I looked at him. You're serious?
Damn. For over 5? Let's go.
After over 5?
I know. He's like, yes. He's like, you're getting called to the big leagues. And he goes, your plane leaves in 4 hours.
So they knew this the whole time? Like,
no,
when they told
what
you
happened is they had an injury, but it was like they didn't know the severity of the injury yet. So they took me out of lineup just in case, so they didn't have to take me out in the middle of the game. But they didn't know so the guy had to get an MRI and, all that stuff to see how long he's going to be out. And so he ended up being hurt, so that's when they made it official, like, okay, he's going to get called up. And that's when they told me. So then they're like, yeah, you leave in 4 hours, you'll be in the lineup tomorrow. So I had to go back to the hotel, get all my stuff together because we're on the road. Get all my stuff together, went straight to the airport, flew to Colorado. That part was sick because I got to the airport. It was like, you see in the movies, they got a guy holding your name on a little sheet. I was like, dang, hey, right here.
Hey, that's me.
Yeah. He grabs your bags for
dope.
you. I'm like, yo, I can carry this stuff. They're like, no, we got it. You get a little show car ride to the hotel.
Did you meet any of the players that night, or you met them all?
So I think I got there pretty late, so I think they were already in their rooms. But yeah, I didn't meet anybody till the next day, which was so crazy because not only are you in it, if I was with the Astros and got called up, I know all of the staff already. I've met all of them, and I know the players. So being in a new organization, new staff, it's like being the new kid at a new school. You just walk in, you're because you hear it all the time. Rookies, you don't want to step over any boundaries. You don't want anybody to say oh, this rookie thinks he's better than everybody. So you just try to stay in your lane. So you just walk in, staying quiet. You kind of wait for people to look at you to be like, oh yeah, I'm Josh. It was such a crazy feeling, and I think it took probably 3-4 days before me even
to talk to
settle
anyone.
in. I was talking to a few people. The main guy who was really cool to me and right away was Adam Jones.
Oh, Adam Jones. I was just about to ask you how your relationship is with him because you play outfield with him. So
yeah, so he
cool.
was the man. Right away, I think it was the third day at Colorado. I showed up. He had some Burberry shirts on my chair.
Dope.
Yeah, he was sick, and
that's
he was introducing me to different people.
That's cool.
It was cool to have a guy that
took you under the wing.
Yeah, allowed me to break out, and then even after that, still to this day, Eduardo Escobar is he's basically my father figure in the organization. He texted me he would text me hey, because that's another thing people don't tell you about is how do I get to the field? What time are the buses? When the veterans get there, what time should the rookie get there? Those are all things that with a new organization, you don't know how they're run. So right away, he took me in. He gave me his phone number. He was like, hey, just meet me in the lobby at this time. We're going to do early stuff. He took me shopping in San Francisco.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's been the man. Even to this day, he'll tell me if anything, if I do anything that a rookie that other people may be talking about, the veterans,
he'll let you know.
There was one day I remember I took BP without a hat on, when everybody's wearing a hat. So he'll just come up to me and be like, hey, guys were kind of talking about you not wearing a hat. Just make sure you. So it's like cool that like I don't have to have people scolding me for it. He'll just come to me like he's like the guy behind the scenes, you know, telling me like what's going on, so I can do everything right.
Yeah, literally, like you said, the father figure, and it's always good to have that, man. Especially when you're, like you said, the new kid in school, someone to show you around or someone to just kind of guide you. That's always helpful.
Yeah, like the comparable would be like if you're the new kid at school and it's like you walk in and you sit in somebody's seat at lunch when they sit there every day, you know?
Yeah.
You need somebody to tell you
yo.
Like you're okay if somebody tells you, but instead they go and talk about it behind your back, like, oh, who's this new kid? He thinks he can sit wherever he wants, you know? You'd rather somebody just tell you, hey, that dude sits there every day, just sit right over there, you know? You need somebody, and a lot of times, and I think in a lot of orgs, there's not a guy like that, so then you just become like this outcast of like, oh, that guy thinks he's this, when really he's just as lost. He doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
Exactly. Hey, I really wanted to talk about this with you, Josh. This whole, like, I know, you got your first hit, in Colorado as well, but I wanted to talk about your first home run in Arizona to tie the game, 4-4 against the Dodgers. And that feeling must have been like, wow, because not only, you got your first hit, but you're away, but you're in your hometown and you got a big crowd.
And against the
Dodgers, man. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't get any better than that. What were you feeling, man? I saw some emotion rounding first base a little bit. I was actually watching that live with the Pops, so I was like, wow.
That was crazy because, and the crazy thing is I usually don't, like, yell like that and stuff after,
that's the first one. Screw that. You got to let it out a little bit.
Yeah, but what made that moment so special was the inning before. There was a runner on second, I believe, and Kike Hernandez hit a line drive to me and left that I misplayed, and it got over my head, and it allowed a run to score, and that gave them the lead. And I was like, dang,
I got to redeem myself.
Yeah, I just blew it. And I remember I was coming up that next inning, and I wasn't thinking homer. I was just thinking I can't get out. I have to at least like provide some form of I have to help out in some way.
Yeah, I gotta compensate in some way.
Yeah, I gotta help out. I gotta at least get on base and give us opportunity to make up that run. And when I hit that homer, I was just like, it was just like a relief. I don't know, was it happiness of hitting a home run, tying the game? It was like a relief of like that's exactly what I needed to do. Like that was the perfect makeup for making the mistake the inning before. And the worst part is, it wasn't an error. So, as far as the pitcher's stats go, earned run. So you kind of feel guilty, like I'm a rookie. I just put an earned run on this guy's stats.
I know pitchers really care about that too. So they're like,
probably a game of loss if we don't come back. So just that homer was like not only my first homer, which was huge to get out of the way and like settle in, but it was also like a meaningful one, which was sick.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what adds value to it because, you even added value to the team right there. Boom. Just put everyone, tied it up.
What happened after you got back to the dugout?
It was like going crazy. And like, I remember after the game, Adam Jones gave me a pie to the face. It was sick. It was definitely a cool feeling.
That is a dope experience, man. How about spring training, man? Like, you looking on? Did you work on anything specifically this season?
So this off season was big for me because, like I said last year for spring training, we had like 2 weeks of spring training, and then it was banged, right? So we couldn't work out anywhere, and so I just worked out at home with I think I had 2 25-pound dumbbells and some resistance bands. So I was doing, actually my boy Kakai was living with me at the time, so we were just doing workouts in the backyard. And then he went back to Hawaii, and I was still working out here and there, but it was not looking like we were going to play a season. And then all of a sudden they're like, all right, we're back on. And I remember at that point I was 15 pounds underweight and just came into spring training struggling, didn't feel like I was ready. And so it was just a tough year all the way around in 2020. So this year, this offseason, I was like, I got to come in ready to go. and so I focused a lot on my eating. I worked out twice as hard. I slept. I got one of those little Whoop bands. I don't know if you heard of those, but they like track your sleep and your activity, and I was just on top of it all. Because normally, like, if I had morning workouts at 8, I was still going to bed at like 1 o'clock. You know, because I could sleep any amount I wanted. I could wake up in the morning and go after it. You know, 5 hours, 6 hours, didn't matter. But that's when I was talking about like how important sleep is. Like, you read this activity tracker and it tracks like your output, and like on nights if I got 7 hours of sleep or 6 hours of sleep, my output, and I got 8 hours of sleep, my output was way higher. And you're like, dang, I thought I could just drink some coffee and be good, be the same.
Yeah.
But, you know, I started sleeping normally. Another thing I learned was that, like, the amount of times you wake up in your sleep without knowing it. So, like, you know, you always, like, I don't know if you guys
toss and turn.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys do this when you're setting your alarm, but like, let's say you have to wake up at 7, you count backwards. Like, okay, if I go to bed at this time, I can get 7 hours of sleep. If I go to bed at this time, I can get 8 hours.
Yeah. I have an app that does that for me, actually.
Right.
So sleep cycles.
Yeah. So I was doing the same thing. So you set your sleep cycles. Like, okay.
Yeah.
You do that little meter, right? So you do. Okay, I want 8 hours of sleep. I go to bed at this time. I wake up at this time.
And it tells you.
Yeah. So you go to the watch, and you actually learn like, oh, I laid in bed for 8 hours, but how much sleep did I actually get? And it would turn out to be 6.
Wow,
so like your watch
really
would this thing tells you like, okay, you got to lay in bed at this time in order to get these many hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Wow, it's all those times that.
What's it called?
You wake up. It's called a Whoop. WHOOP. That's sick. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty. That's
so
pretty
these
cool,
are all
man.
the things. So I came in this year. I think I played at 180 last year, and this year I came into spring training at 205. So.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So I feel
solid.
good.
Okay. What's the schedule like right now? Like for spring training, like are you working out every day, or
so
especially with COVID too?
Yeah. So we start every morning at 7:30, and then. So we start at 7:30. So like these days, they're just practice days. So 7:30 to about 12:30 or 1, depending on depending on your position, you have different schedules, even by player. So you show up at 7:30, you're done by 12:30, 1:30. And then obviously if you have a game that day, then it's 7:30. Then you have lunch at 12:30, and then your game's at 1.
So you have practice today?
Yeah, so we practice every day.
Oh, wow. No days
Game
off.
tomorrow.
Yeah, and then we got a game tomorrow, so it'll be 7:30, lunch at 12, I think as the schedule said, and then game at 1.
Hey, that's pretty
so once
dope,
game
man.
starts, they're long days.
Yeah, man. Hey,
Yeah,
that's
that's
gonna be
another
fun.
thing people don't realize is like
It's not just the game; it's the whole.
Yeah, you see the games on TV at.
Yeah, that's it.
Like, we have a 7:05 game, right? But we're showing up at 12.
Yeah.
You know, so I wish you could just show up at 6:30.
I know, right? Just like
in
the old
like in high
days, like
school,
Little League. Yeah, you know, do some arm circles real quick. Just start throwing hard.
Club ball, you got a game at 5. You show up at 4:30, and just
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's get it.
Yeah.
All right, man. We're about to start wrapping it up soon, but I want to make sure we get on this topic because this is the real core of our podcast. We feel like everyone that's on that journey to the top, man, you know, everyone has different levels of success. But for your case right now, you know, making it to the big leagues and actually staying there, we feel like there's wins and losses along the way, meaning there's ups and downs, there's major setbacks. The losses could teach you more than your wins can sometimes, you know, whether it's mentally, physically, whatever it is. I wanted to touch on some losses, some major setbacks or times where you felt like you were at the lowest of your lows that helped you, you know,
propel
so
you to
I've
where you are
had,
today.
like you said, those, I think you learn more from those than any other situation because like I gave some examples. My junior year in college, a lot of pressure on myself, bad year. Came back the next year, it was like, okay, I'm going to play free, I'm going to play fun, great year. And then I think in 2018 was a tough year for me, and I think that mainly was because I just had that like lack of focus. I was having fun, you know, not sleeping, going out all the time, you know, having fun with my teammates, and then showing up to the field and just assuming it's going to be there. And when you're playing a game against other guys who are working, you can get outworked. And I think if you get outworked, it shows on the field. And so I came back in 19 like just super focused on this is what needs to be done on and off the field in order for me to perform. And there were some changes I made. I mean, in 18, I was in Texas, which I don't know if you know this, but Whataburger is huge in Texas.
Oh yeah, that's
It's huge in Texas. I was a frequent visitor to Whataburger. Actually, our field in Corpus was called Whataburger Field.
Oh my gosh.
So, you know, I was.
Their chocolate shakes are crazy.
Oh man, that's the thing. Like at Millennium, you know, you got the Whataburger right down the
It's
street.
right there. Yeah.
Right there. Yeah.
Everybody thinks like it's not that good. You know, you don't go there. You go to like Burger King or something else.
In and out.
Yeah, in and out, you know, but in Texas it's huge, so I was there all the time. And then in 19 I came back and I was like,
no more Whataburger.
Stay away from that place. So I was like, I was eating way better, I was sleeping way better.
Makes a difference.
And that was the difference. I trained harder that off season. I was actually lifting harder in season than I was any season previous. College or in 17 or 18. In 19, I was actually lifting every 2-3 days hard. And I never really did that before because I hated playing sore. But I came to realize, like, you can play a little sore. It doesn't affect your ability to play. It might be not as comfortable as playing loose, but you're stronger, you're faster, you're quicker if you just work out and stay healthy. Because it's not like football where you get 6 days off in between to work out and recover. Like you're playing every single day. So if you're not working out and playing sore a couple games here and there, then you're not working out at all. So just being comfortable with playing sore and working out. And then obviously my biggest setback, I think, to this day was in 2020, just not coming in prepared, just assuming there wasn't going to be a season. Then there was.
And then having to get ready.
Yeah, it was like I was playing catch up the whole time. And it was that set me up for the off season I had this off season. So I'm hoping that setback in 2020 and the work that I put in will bring me back and hopefully I have a good year this year. Because even in 2020, I wasn't up the whole year. I was up for the first 10 games with only one at bat. Then I got sent down, and I was down until like the last 2 weeks of the season. Then I got called back up. So that was like a very up and down year, just struggling, just battling.
Yeah, that
grinding.
feeling could be,
Yeah, I was in one of those scenarios where like every at bat I was trying to change something, trying to do too much. Like every at bat I got was like, okay, I got to prove that I can play tomorrow.
Just in your head.
Just in my head, hard, you know. But it all came down to me not being ready physically. But when you're in it, you don't want to tell yourself that. You want to just tell yourself,
of course not.
Yeah, like, all right, I'm just going to do this, and it's going to be the fix. You know, I'm just going to do this with my hands, and I'll be good. And every day it doesn't work. You go home, and you're, like, in front of the mirror, like, okay, I'm going to try this tomorrow. It doesn't work. I'm going to try this. But it all came down to just not being strong enough, mobile enough. Just wasn't ready physically. So this year I made sure that those changes that I want to make mechanically will be the right changes, and it's not because of I'm not strong enough or I'm not ready physically.
Yeah, no, I think that's great though that you were actually able to, pick out those things, recognize those things for what it is and not be discouraged and actually, flip it and actually, try to make something out of it instead of just being down on yourself about it. You can't do that at the level you're at. There's people competing around the whole damn country.
Yeah.
So. And would you say not dwelling on it too much, or like how you were saying, like in your head, like maybe?
I think the biggest thing is like progressing, right? So like you've heard McGregor, like say it. He
McGregor.
says, I don't. What does he say? It's like something like something about his losses. He says like, God, I can't remember the line. I used to say it all the time. Oh, I don't lose, I learn. I don't lose, I learn. That's what he always says.
Yeah, it's not a loss, it's a lesson.
Right. It's not a loss, it's a lesson. So, like, if you take it, like, I could have went, if let's say I had the year 2020, for example. I could have easily came out of that year and just thought, like, all right, I'm going to change something mechanically or I got to make changes here and there. But instead, I took it and I was like, okay, I'm going to just work harder in every aspect. I'm going to take lifting seriously. I'm going to take eating seriously. I'm going to take sleeping seriously. I'm going to take everything that I can control seriously, and then we'll see where I end up. Because if you just keep changing one thing, it's not it. You know, it's like somebody that does something wrong over and over and over. It's like, all right, let's maybe not do that one anymore. Yeah. So that's where I was at. I was like, all right, let's change physically, mentally, and then
can control what you can control.
Yeah, and then now after we do all those things, now let's work on the mechanical stuff. And if it still doesn't work out, then maybe it ain't just for you. Then maybe it ain't for you.
Yeah, switch the bat or something.
Yeah.
You know.
And maybe you blame someone else. No, I don't know.
Hey, man. All right, on the flip side. No, I hear you. On the flip side, though, all the wins, the major milestones, I can only imagine, I'm sure, it's making it to the big leagues. I know that had to have been one big accomplishment. But any others along the way that kind of helped you, like Star said, propel to the next level? In college or high school, game-changing moments?
The biggest thing for me was, like, looking back on it, I remember I was talking to one of my teammates about this, but I think when you make it to your ultimate goal, you get to look back on all your decisions, because every decision has so much, like he said earlier, crossroads, right? Every decision you make has crossroads. I can go this way or I can go this way. And at every single one, you don't know what's at the end of that road. You know, everybody wishes you could see what's at the end of the road and know, like, okay, this is the right decision or this is the right decision.
Yeah,
it happens so many times where you make a decision, it's the wrong one, and you got to go back and make the other decision. So I think when you make it to where your goal was, you get to look back on all decisions and be like, dang, that was the right one, that was the right one. And mine, for me personally, was out of high school, going to junior college. Instead of trying to
go to that D1 and impress everybody. Yeah.
Make a big splash and go to a D1 and then not play. I think being humble and going to where I thought was the best fit, you know, because even you have friends that go to ASU and you're at a junior college and it's like you see their Instagram posts, their Snapchat stories. You're like, dang,
you see them on
so much fun. Yeah, they're having so much fun at ASU. They're going to these big parties. They got all this going on. Going to the football games, and you're like, I'm over here to junior college. I don't even have a football team. You know,
you got a different goal though.
Yeah, exactly.
And way different goal.
You get to the end and you get to see that was the right decision. That was the smart move. Even though at the time it wasn't the popular choice, that was the right move. Same thing with going to Hawaii. You look like at the time, it's like, do I want to travel across the ocean to go play?
On a rock?
Or on a rock? Or do I want to be the second guy at ASU and have a sick status, have a sick header saying ASU baseball player? So that would have been sick to just be on the ASU baseball team and say I was on the ASU baseball team and do all that fun stuff, go to the tailgates and.
I think it's more respectable though when you do go the route that you went.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because you make your own path, basically.
Right. And that's that's why, like, when you get at the end, like, even if I didn't make it to the big leagues, those were still the best choice. But
definitely, it
is cool when you make it and then you get to go back and say that for sure. Yeah. Like, now you get to tell everybody else, like, see, that was the right choice. That I made the right choice there. I made the right choice there. Obviously, there's little choices in those decisions. Like I said, you know, not taking the weight room seriously in college.
eating habits or whatever.
Or not eating, or not sleeping, or going out late and then eating late, and all those little decisions that you make. And like I made those, and I had tough years, and then you get to the end, and you say, okay, I'm gonna go and choose the other path. I'm gonna see how this one chooses. Instead of you still have guys that go down that path, have a bad year, and then go down the same path again. So.
Yeah. And I think it's happened to the perfect person, man. Especially with the guy who wants to, the end goal is to coach. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you're guiding people, in the position that you once were in. So if you can lead them in the better direction, I mean, dude,
yeah,
they're
you
a
have
step
that
ahead.
experience for when you do coach. You can tell them all these stories, man. Do not eat at Whataburger. Get your sleep. Take the weight room seriously.
Get a Whoop. I'm about to get one now. I need one of those things.
That's one of the main reasons I wanted to coach was because I didn't take the top prospect path. I didn't go from high school.
Basically an underdog path.
Right. I didn't go from high school to a D1 star to a top draft pick. It's hard for those guys to coach because not everybody has that ability.
They didn't go through the...
Exactly. It's not relatable.
Trenches.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not going to resonate with those people as much as... Yeah, man.
It was kind of handed to them almost. I mean, they did work for it, but they didn't have to struggle. And most players have to struggle to get to where they want to be. So that's really cool.
There's so many different paths to the same goal. Even in other sports, you got NFL guys, you got top picks who are successful. You also got the undrafted guys who are successful.
Exactly. It goes both ways. All right, man. We're probably about to wrap it up. I do want to, let you leave some encouraging words. Words of advice, maybe for those that, are maybe just graduating in a COVID year, playing baseball or
don't know where they're going to go for college, or even maybe Little League players.
Yeah.
What's the key, man?
I think the biggest thing is staying on your path. I think trying to create your own path, and at every step of the way is picking the decision that's going to be best for your future and not on the popular choice. I think a lot of people get stuck on the popular choice.
That's true.
Even when it comes to finding a job, like, don't pick the job because it's the popular choice. Pick one you're going to enjoy and that you think you can do for a long time. You have a lot of people that go into a career or go to a college just
because of the notoriety.
Yeah, just because it's the cool thing to do, or it's what you're supposed to do, instead of carving out your own path, doing what you enjoy. Just like you guys, with this podcast, it's something you enjoy, something that's good for the people. It's good for people to watch, and it's not the popular choice. I'm sure you hear it all the time. Like, people start a podcast, you're like, what? What? That's not what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to have a 9 to 5. You're
supposed to go work 9 to 5.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's not all to life. It's not all about sitting in an office and working a job you hate. It's about doing something you love, doing something that's cool, create your own path, and find your own success.
Oh, well said, man. Well said, for sure. Man, hey, thank you again for stopping by. We really appreciate it, man. Good luck this season, Josh.
Tomorrow.
Appreciate you, stopping by, like I said, virtually. Hopefully next time, man, you can stop by in person later on if we have you back on or something like that. That would be cool.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, man, I'm your host, Adam Perez. Thank you for tuning in to the Wins and Losses podcast. And until next time, guys, peace.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.